welcome to It's All About You, the best show about you on the internet. I am B. Dave Walters, writer, life coach, talk radio host. This is episode number 74, Rejection. And you know, I just wrote an article for my BeliefNet blog a couple of days ago, and strangely enough, it was by a wide margin like the most popular article I've written to date, which is interesting because I just sort of punched it out pretty quickly. But it showed me that apparently, you know, this topic and idea of rejection and how to deal with it is apparently a really big deal. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit more here now. And I guess here in just a little while we'll talk about it more on the radio also, on my radio show. So, you know, let me just say first and foremost, a lot of times I start these episodes off with quotes, and I really don't like quoting myself, because I always think when people quote themselves, it kind of sounds egotistical and self-serving, since of course you think what you said sounds good, or else you wouldn't have said it. But in this case, I got to quote me. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, okay? It does not matter what anyone else thinks. You have to please one person and one person only in this world, and that is the person in the mirror, okay? But let me clarify right here at the beginning. I'm not saying be a jerk, okay? I'm not saying be a witch. Quite the opposite, in fact. Quite the opposite. You ever heard, I'm sure you've heard the idea of pay yourself first? That if you want to be wealthy, you need to pay yourself first. Set aside money for you before your bills and everything else. Pay your savings and your investments before everything else, because that's the only way it'll ever grow. If you just intend to save a little bit of what's left at the end of the month, there will never be anything, ever. So unless you have a disciplined savings plan, you're never going to grow financially. It's very similar to that. Unless you see to your own emotional needs and your own psychological needs and your own spiritual needs first, you will never get around to it. And there will not be enough to give to other people. You know, like being a people pleaser, I got to tell you, being a people pleaser is probably the most destructive habit that you can form. Okay? Because we all get stuck in this cycle of not wanting to say no, or seeking approval from other people, anywhere besides ourselves, basically, and our Creator. Seeking approval outside, and so we do things to gain people's approval, or at least to avoid their lack of approval. And the problem with it is very inauthentic, okay? Like, let's just say if you're a mother, okay? If you're a mother and you've got children, and so you're always saying yes to everything. You're always going to Little League and ballet and football practice and everything, which, of course, is important as a parent. It's very important, all right? But the problem is, if you're constantly putting your own needs to the side and your own emotional well-being and your own spiritual and physical well-being to the side, then not only will those things start to fall apart, like anything that's not maintained, you will start to build up resentment, okay? And you'll start to become angry and start to become bitter. And you may not consciously think, you know, I'm mad at my children because I've got no time, but somewhere in the back of your mind, the fact that you gave up on your life to start a family, that seed's going to be planted there, and it's going to start to just fester and grow into nastiness, okay? And it might manifest as bad relationships with them as they get older, as you begin to resent the sacrifices you made. Or maybe you never feel that way consciously, but it might manifest as illnesses or cancer or other problems from all the things you repressed. Does that make sense? Because when you pay yourself first, in this case, there's actually more of you to go around. When you feel content and rooted and validated and expressed, then there is more love for you to give to the people in your life and more opportunities to serve, because you will be helping them and doing things for them out of a place of love and service and not out of a sense of obligation. Does that make sense? See, it's like I was talking to somebody who was looking to become a life coach, or had just ended up kind of being the person that gave a lot of advice to their friends, since, you know, they've talked to me a lot. And, you know, read books and DVDs, even probably taken a couple classes, right? And he was saying he was getting so frustrated with people that didn't listen, and so frustrated with people that didn't change and made the same mistakes again and again and again. And I can tell you, I think everybody that gets into this line of work gets frustrated with that at first, because showing somebody what they're doing wrong is easy. I mean, getting them to see it is easy. Getting them to change it is hard, okay? So the question I posed to him, are you coming from a place of trying to fix them, or are you coming from a place of compassion? Okay? Because if you're coming from a place of trying to fix them, you're always going to be frustrated. And I'm here to tell you they're not broken. Nobody's broken. You're not broken. We're all working perfectly. We're all working absolutely perfectly for who and what we had to be to have the life that we've got right now. Okay? Now, if you want a different life, if you want different results, if you want to make a change, well then yeah, you need to change your behaviors and your way of thinking and your way of being if you want to manifest different results. But you don't have to be in this place of should. I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I'm bad for doing this, I'm bad for doing that. Oh, well, no, you're not. I mean, you make decisions that either do or do not serve you, and you make decisions that either take your life in positive or negative directions, but that doesn't make you a bad person. And so when you're operating out of this place of fixing people, then you will always be frustrated and always be irritated, and you will never truly reach them because people don't want to be fixed. They don't. I'm telling you, I'm a recovering fixer. Okay? Well, I'm a recovered fixer. I don't try and fix anything anymore. But if you're coming from a place of compassion, where you understand that they're in pain, and you understand that they're suffering, and you understand that these actions are coming out of a place that is well-meaning. Because I'll let you in on a secret. Everything that your subconscious mind does, every idea that your mind has, everything that your self-talk says to you, even negative self-talk, is actually trying to help you. Your mind means well with what it's doing. Even your body means well with the things that it's doing, right? It just may not be helping you, and it may not be coming across very constructively. Does that make sense? So, when you can come from this place of here is a human being that is suffering, and I can stand in a place of compassion, then out of that place of compassion comes patience, right? That you understand that it may take time for them to change, that they may make the same mistakes over and over again, that they may never get it. And you can still love them and be there for them 100%, absolutely free from being attached to their actions or attached to whether or not they do what you think they should do. Because here's the thing, you don't know everything. I don't. You don't know what their life plan is. You don't know what their destiny is or what God has planned for them. It may be the lesson of this entire life is what it's like to be an alcoholic screw-up, unfortunately. And they'll go to their grave having never learned anything. And then in the next life, they'll be like, okay, so I know what that's like. I can mark that off the list of my, universal experiences. Right? So it's not for us to judge. Okay? And you want to operate out of that place of compassion. Now, what does this have to do with rejection? Because it seems like I took this big detour. Okay? The way that you can be 100% immune to rejection and 100% immune to what other people say, because I'm telling you, I'm 100% immune. I had to explain this to some people at the college that I work at now, associate director. If you've got, something to say, or I do something you don't like, or something you don't approve of, or whatever, say something. Give it to me straight, man. I am impossible to offend. Impossible. Quite frankly, I tell people skip the foreplay. Give it to me straight. They always laugh when I say that, but it's true. Hey, my clock just reset completely. Like the clock that I have going in the background, I think it just totally reset. So I have no idea how much time we have. I'm going to have to set it for a different amount of time here and hope it works this time. That's strange. Okay. So this is probably going to be a short episode. Hopefully it won't be a long episode. And I'll just kind of eyeball it with this clock right here. So, before I got distracted, the way that you can be completely immune to rejection, and it is this. The way that you're completely immune to rejection is if you operate out of this place of compassion, okay? If you can be safe and confident in who and what you are, then no one else has the ability to hurt you. People's words have what power over you that you give them, okay? I mean, the words in and of themselves innately don't have any power at all, right? It's like I tell people that, sometimes they get upset about something that a parent says or that a friend says or that a spouse says. And I understand that, these words can wound. Buddha said the tongue is like a sharp knife. It kills without drawing blood. It can hurt you if you allow it. But along with that is the fact that I say whatever they said, whatever the words were that hurt. If a crazy person on the corner has said those exact words, like the exact thing that they said to you, if just like a crazy person had said it, Would you be upset? And they're like, well, no. Well, I'm like, well, then what's the difference? I mean, the words were the same. Does that understand? You understand what I mean? Does that make sense? It's just you've chosen to give one person the power to wound you, and you have not chosen to give that power to another person. Does that make sense? Because you are more secure in who and what you are than the opinion of a crazy person, but maybe not more secure in who and what you are than the opinion of a coworker or a strange look somebody gives you walking through the mall, right? Because I'm going to tell you something else. I think you would be amazed when you worry about what other people think about you, when you realize how little they think about you. I mean, you're awesome. I love you. Don't get me wrong. But they're all busy trying to deal with their own baggage and their own inadequacies and their own I'm not good enough and worried about what everybody thinks about them. Does that make sense? You're not really a topic of conversation for most people. I can tell you that with a good amount of certainty. Okay? And even if you are, even if you're the topic of everybody's conversation, what difference does it make? Doesn't matter what they think. Matters what you think. Matters what you think. I had the same conversation with another friend of mine today that said they were going to leave their church. They were going to formally withdraw from their religion. And I was kind of like, for what? And my friend was like, well, they make me feel bad about myself. You know, they're mean and I just feel guilty and I don't feel like participating in that community anymore. And I was like, well, then don't participate in that community. But you don't necessarily need to go make some formal declaration. You don't need anybody's permission to believe or not believe whatever it is you want. That's between you and God, right? I mean, you don't need them to say, okay, we release you. You know, you don't have to go and tell them you don't want to play in their club anymore. You can, but really, you know, I kind of, when I decide what I'm going to do and what I'm going to say or not say, I have a very simple standard, okay? What possible positive result can come from this? And then I look at what possible negative result can come from it. And if the value of the positive outweighs the potential of the negative, then I say it or I do it. Right? So in this particular case, all it looked like to me was an opportunity to get into an argument with the members of this particular congregation, right? I mean, a chance for them to try and persuade you to come back or give you this big guilt trip. If you don't want to go, don't go. If you do want to go, go. Let the haters hate. What difference does it make? You know, again, they're dealing with their own anxiety and their own I'm not good enough and their own incompletions. Does that make sense? And that's another thing. You know, I talk about this idea of being complete with things and complete with the past. And again, if you have painful memories or difficult things from your past that you don't know how to deal with. I did a video, episode 37. I teach a very powerful tool in that can help you eliminate painful memories permanently. It can completely take away the pain you feel when you think about these things. Episode 37, all about you, episode 37. If you're not watching this on Facebook, you can find links to all of my videos and everything I do on a website called about.me, like about.me/B Dave Walters. Go to my fan page, click on videos, episode 37, instant change. It will help you, okay? But, you know, if you're not complete with what's happened up until now, if you're still living into this guilt, if you still believe there's something wrong with you, if you believe something's bad about you that you've been programmed with this guilt, then yeah, you're going to completely manifest situations where people have the opportunity to make you feel guilty, right? But when you start to figure out what the root of this is, when you figure out where this came from in the first place and what made you feel the way that you feel, then you'll start to understand, that you don't necessarily have to feel guilty. There's nothing to feel guilty about. It's between you and God. I mean, remember, the original Greek word for sin is harmatio. It means to miss the mark. That's it. It's like an archer that shoots at a target, misses. That's it. To miss the mark. I mean, 2,000 years later, we've compounded it into this huge, life-altering, world-ending thing where you're just this terrible, awful sinner. Bleh. Right? Not really sure the mind that hung the cosmos. One bit of your DNA has enough information in it to fill books from California to New York. Do you know that? And yet the Creator put it on a surface smaller than the size of a pen. I mean, God keeps track of a lot of things. And I personally believe that God is constantly aware of everything, but I don't believe God gets offended by the things that we get offended by. Because God sort of knows a lot. And by a lot, I mean everything. He knows who you are, what you are, how you thought, the circumstances around you, and what you meant, and why you did it. Okay? Because God understands psychology a lot better than I do, and I understand why people do what they do. Right? And if I can come from a place of compassion and not judge them, then I'm absolutely sure the Creator can. But I tell you what, I've just completely lost track of time now. I tried to set the clock back to running while we were talking, and I said it wrong. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop, because I don't want to risk this running too long and then not being able to do it. But, by the way, I'm out of questions, so you can ask me anything. You can ask me either anonymously, or you can give me your name at a website called FormSpring, form like membership form, spring like the season, .me, formspring.me/B Dave Walters. And again, you can find links to everything that I do on about.me, about.me/B Dave Walters. You are great. I love you. Okay? It doesn't matter what I think either, but you know I think awesome things, so I think you should listen to me. Okay? Remember, look in the mirror, look yourself in the eye, say you're great, and I love you. I'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.